Picture this, a man who survived 2 plane crashes, hunted lions in Africa, wrestled marlins bigger than your pickup truck, drank more daiquiris than a tiki bar on spring break, and somehow still had the focus to write books that reshaped literature forever. And through it all, he wore one of the most iconic beards the world has ever seen. Today on Beardtory, we're going to dive into the life and the beard of Ernest Hemingway, a beard as rugged and unforgettable as the man himself. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Beardtory. This is going to be another good one, and we are going to rank his beard at the end of this video, so make sure that you stay right here to see where he ranks amongst all the greatest beards in Beardtory. Let's jump in to the early years of Ernest Miller Hemingway, who was born in Oak Park, Illinois in 1899, a conservative little town that probably called itself a place of wide lawns and narrow minds. Hemingway grew up hunting, fishing, and boxing with his father and writing short stories under the encouragement of his mother. At just 18, restless and eager to escape, Hemingway volunteered as an ambulance driver for the Red Cross during World War I. He ended up in Italy, where his time in the trenches would change him forever. In 1918, he was seriously wounded by mortar fire while delivering supplies. Shrapnel tore through his leg, but he still carried another soldier to safety, an act that earned him the Italian Silver Medal of Valor. The experience left him with physical scars and emotional ones too. Some historians believe that his brush with death planted the seeds of his lifelong struggles with trauma, alcohol, and depression, but it also gave him the raw material for what would become one of the most famous novels, A Farewell to Arms. At this point, his famous beard hadn't yet bloomed, but you could argue that the roots of it, both literal and symbolic, were being planted. A man who had looked death in the face needed a face that reflected that kind of grit. And, well, after recovering from the war, Hemingway moved to Paris in the 1920s. He joined a circle of, writers and artists that Gertrude Stein famously dubbed the Lost Generation. Imagine smoking cafes, endless bottom of, wine, jazz spilling into streets, and young Hemingway, notebook in hand, soaking it all in. But Paris wasn't enough. Hemingway was addicted to the adrenaline of living on the edge. He traveled to Spain and fell in love with bullfighting, describing it as the only art in which the artist is in danger of death. Later, he ventured into Africa, where he went to safaris, hunted lions and rhinos, and survived encounters with charging animals. And if that wasn't enough, he nearly lost his life again in 2 separate plane crashes in 1954, just one day apart. By then, the Hemingway beard had arrived in full. Salt and pepper, thick and rugged. It wasn't trimmed into, polite lines or styled into some neat Victorian masterpiece. It was the kind of beard that looked just as natural under a Panama hat in Havana as it did in the African bush. His beard said, "I live for danger, and I dare you to try to outdo me." While Hemingway's adventures filled, with life and his drama, it was his writing that made him immortal. He had this unique ability to strip language down to its bare essentials. No fluff, no frills, just short, powerful sentences that carried more weight than entire pages of flowery prose. His novel, The Sun Also Rises, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and The Old Man in the Sea, they weren't just stories. They were raw slices of human existence. In 1953, he won the Pulitzer Prize. And in 1954, he took home the Nobel Prize in Literature. And through it all, his beard became synonymous with his identity as a writer. It framed his face in interviews, photographs, and book jackets, giving him the aurora of the wise, battle-worn storyteller that he truly was. The beard wasn't perfectly manicured, and it kind of, had an honesty to it, just like his words. Hemingway, he carefully curated his own legend. He posed with freshly caught marlins, rifles in hand, or a drink at the ready. He cultivated the image of the tough, masculine writer, half poet, half prize fighter. His beard was the exclamation point to it all, a visual shorthand for authority and experience. But behind the beard, Hemingway struggled. He endured multiple head injuries, a series of failed marriages, and, unfortunately, an ongoing battle with depression. His drinking became legendary, but it also worsened his mental health. In 1961, at the age of 61, Hemingway tragically took his own life. And yet, his beard, like his words, lives on. Every July in Key West, men from around the world gather for a Hemingway look-alike contest, donating white beards and fishermen's sweaters to keep his legend alive. The myth of Hemingway is inseparable from the beard that grew wilder with every adventure, every book, every battle he faced. It's now time, ladies and gentlemen, for that moment you've probably been waiting for, or you skipped ahead in the video and found this moment, where we're going to go ahead and rank Hemingway's beard. As always, we're going to rank them on fear factor. We're going to rank them on wisdom points. We're going to rank this beard on intimidation level. We're going to rank it on thickness and wildness, and also the historical impact. And we're going to give you a total. Hopefully I can, do some math today, and then we're going to show you where it ranks amongst all the beards that we have. Will he crack the top 20 list? Well, let's go ahead and see, because the first one we're going to do is fear factor. Hemingway's beard, it wasn't designed to scare you away with kind of a pirate's fiery whisker a Viking's mane might, but it carried a different kind of weight. This was a beard that hinted at survival, at trenches filled with shrapnel, charging bulls, and brushes with death. It didn't scream monster in the night, it whispered, "I've seen darkness you'll never understand." That quiet, lived kind of in intimidation is its own kind of fearsome. So for me, 7.4. out of 10 for fear factor. And now, wisdom points. This is where Hemingway's beard, in my opinion, shines brightest. Few writers have reshaped literature the way that he did, and his beard was the natural extension of that genius. It framed a man who understood war, love, loss, and the human condition in ways most of us, we can only begin to grasp. Every silver strand was like a paragraph of the old man and the sea etched into his face. So for me, 9.1 out of 10 for wisdom points. Let's jump over to intimidation level, because Hemingway, his beard wasn't flamboyant. It was sturdy. It projected the same kind of blunt force as his prose. You could almost imagine him glaring over at a charging bull, a soldier, or an unsuspecting bar patron, and none of them would want to test him. His intimidation, it didn't come from volume. It came from presence. So with that being said, I gave this a 7.7 out of 10. Not the bushiest beard we've ever ranked, so this is going to reflect it in the thickness and wildness, but it definitely wasn't a lightweight either. Hemingway's beard walked a fine line between kind of disciplined and disheveled. It had enough heft to command respect, but not so much that it seemed unkept. It was a beard of practicality, designed for salt air, African dust, and the clink of a whiskey glass. So for me, 7.1 out of 10. Historical impact, this one's undeniable. Hemingway's beard is as much a part of his legacy as his writing. It's etched into murals in Key West, plastered across t-shirts, and immortalized in the annual Hemingway look-alike contest, where hundreds of men gather every summer to channel Papa's spirit, white beard and all. It's a beard that transcended the man, becoming a symbol of rugged wisdom and artistic rebellion. So for me, 9.3 out of 10. And if my math is mathin', that's a 40.6 out of 50. And this is where Hemingway's beard ranks amongst all the other beards that we have done here on Beardtory. What do you think? Did we do it justice? Did we do well? Well, let us know right now in the comments. But either way, Hemingway's beard, it wasn't the scariest. And it didn't rival the wild manes of Norse gods or outlaws. But it carried grit, wisdom, and cultural weight. It's a beard that lived life hard, told stories harder, and still inspires beards everywhere to grow wild and true. Well, again, do you think this beard deserves a seat at the table with the likes of Lincoln, Rasputin, and Zeus? Or is it more of a great writer, decent beard situation? Drop your own rating in the comments. Why not? This could be a new fun thing that we do, and let's see if you would have ranked it much different than, I did. But either way, until next time, everybody, keep your beards epic and your stories even bigger. We'll be back next week, as always, here on Beardtory. Take care, everybody.